you guys, and we care about the issues that are happening right now. So, thank you. Also, thank you to our co-sponsors, the Black Culture Center for helping all the way with us Black students. Thank you to the Sociocultural Programming for helping from the very start with the idea, help supporting. And thank you to you guys. Thank you to BSU. Thank you for supporting these events and coming out. It is appreciated. So, if you don't know me, my name is Leah Wilson. I'm the president of the Black Student Union here at BSU. And I had this idea to have like more activism on campus for Black students because I just felt like we didn't have a voice. So I had this idea of like this Black Artist Activism Week. It's really nice to have it manifest. And how we got to our speaker today, Amanda Seals, I just happened to respond to her on Instagram and she responded back like, yeah, I speak at university. So from there, we got her to come here. So we're very thankful to have her here tonight. So to keep it nice, she's a comedian, host, content creator, actor, and more. Amanda Seals doesn't just want to make you laugh, she wants to make change. With an uncanny knack for taking serious topics such as racism, rape culture, sexism, police brutality, with humor, making them relatable and interesting, she combines intellectual wit and a pop culture obsession to create her unique style of smart, funny content for the stage. She is very known right now for her hit show with HBO Insecure as Tiffany. She also holds a master's in African American Studies from Columbia University, and she still inspires students like us today.
The snaps.
She tours colleges lecturing on everything from sexism to Black popular culture. She is also right now known for her smart, funny, and Black comedy shows. She's a force of nature who is a Black Panther with wings. So please give a nice warm welcome for Amanda Seals.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Oh, I gotta turn my mic on. Hold on. We here? There it is. How y'all doing? So this is my people on the Instagrams. They're like, do a live stream. So, okay. So, can someone help me with that? Like, figure out something. There we go. I don't know. Can you give me that? So here's the thing. She wanted me to come speak, and don't get me wrong. Like, I want to speak. There's an engineer here or somebody. Thank you, Vic. What's your name? Hello, Victor. Pivot up for Victor. Solving problems. So I'm wearing tights with these shoes because it's cold, okay? Normally that wouldn't be the look, but it's like 30 whatever degrees, and I'm from LA. So give it up for Nia is it Nia or Nia? Nia. Give it up for Nia for going in my DMs, sliding in my DMs. When I come to schools to talk in the past, because I've been actually speaking at schools since I was in school, and I for a long time I would come and you do a lecture and you pontificate and you say a lot of important things and everyone like nods and everyone leaves like, wow, like she used a lot of big words. And then, like, me, myself, like, I would go hear certain speakers talk, like, Cornel West or Henry Louis Gates, etc. And, like, I'd be like, damn, they used a lot of big words. But at the end of the day, like, as much as it's great to be able to see, like, folks speak and share their thoughts and their unique points of view, I feel like we are, especially now, at a time where there needs to be a lot more dialogue. So not just being spoken to, but speaking to each other. I feel like we kind of have this weird relationship with technology where on one hand it brings us closer together, but then on the other hand it kind of brings us further apart, because at the end of the day a digital connection is never going to be as strong as an analog connection. Digital has a computer as the connector in some senses, but also a barrier in some ways between us, whereas analog is just me and you, human to human, which is a stronger connection than any Wi-Fi connection could be. I came up with that myself. And so I say all that to say that I want to talk to you all a little bit in the beginning, but then I want to open up the floor for questions earlier than I think most speakers typically would, because I want the lecture to come through your questions, through your inquiries, through your comments. And I want to encourage everybody in this room who may not typically be the person who stands up to ask a question, to tonight be the person who stands up and asks a question. And I want to do that because what I think is really important is that not only do we get comfortable having conversations with each other, but that we get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations with each other. Okay? And part of being able to do that and handle yourself in that situation is immersion. You just got to do it. And the beauty of this room is that this is a safe space. I'm declaring this room a safe space. Okay? So I ain't going to clown you. I ain't going to judge you. You may hear an inconvenient truth or two, but at the end of the day, this room is about love. This room is about sharing information. This room is about upliftment and empowerment. So if you're not about those things, I invite you to leave now, because that's what we're about in this room, okay? This is in particular a safe space for Black voices. So if you are not a Black person and you are in this room, it is not to say that your experience is invalid. It is not to say that your experience has no credit, but it is to say that we are not here to be safe with your particular experience in terms of making you feel comfortable and not having guilt, etc., or as we call it in Black Twitter land, white tears. We are not here to mop up white tears, okay? What we are here to do today is to discuss the state of race in this country, the state of solution in this country, if there is one at all, and more importantly, in my opinion, the state of managing the state of this country. Because I think that's the part that some of us forget, like, we have to just deal with what's going on today. And you guys, I always say this at every school I go to, you are expected to do more. Do not let yourself off the hook. You are not regular. Sorry, you're not average. You're not the everyman. You are special because you get to have a higher education. Not everybody gets that access, okay? Not everybody gets to even complete that access if they get a shot at that access. So the simple fact of you being here means that you now are tasked with more responsibility than anybody else who's not here. And that's because you have knowledge. And what is knowledge?
Power.
And with great power comes?
Great responsibility.
Facts. Okay? So that was said by a man, but it actually is the facts. Like, it was said by a human. Like, it's not like it's some random Bible quote that was said by John F. Kennedy, but it's the truth. And the reality is, it is by John F. Kennedy, yes. And the reality is that I think sometimes we think like, well, what can I do? You know what I mean? I'm just me. Like, what can I do? But then if you think of a whole room of people said, well, this is what I can do, then you're no longer just you. You're a whole squadron of folks. It's going to take an army. Like, revolutions don't happen just because of one person, even though it may look like it, even though they may be like, we just need one leader. No. Martin Luther King was not the sole driving force of the civil rights movement, okay? Like, the civil rights movement was started by y'all. It was started by students, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, okay? And too often we forget that young people are the people who create the most change, because y'all have the least to lose and the most to gain, okay? Because a lot of y'all don't have kids yet. You don't got a mortgage. You don't got a husband or a wife. Like, you don't have people attached to you that you feel like you got to be responsible for. Most of y'all have you to be responsible for. And you're like, well, damn, I got to make the world a better place for at least me. So there's a certain selfishness that comes with youth, but that selfishness can be utilized in a very practical and empowering way, right? And, you know, when I'm talking about this idea of having nothing to lose, you know, a lot of people find themselves in situations where they don't want to speak up, or they don't want to challenge a situation for a very valid reason. Because they've worked really hard to get where they got, and they don't want it taken away. You know, because they're looking at a vision, and the vision is bigger than the moment, and they're like, you know what? I don't want to squander my vision for this moment. And that's very real. The hard part is discerning when that moment happens that you need to actually choose the battle. So for me, I found myself at a dinner with Katy Perry. That whole sentence sounds crazy. I found myself at a live stream dinner that Katy Perry was doing for YouTube. Got crazier. Because she was doing a Big Brother type series for 3 days where there was going to be a camera on her every day while she was promoting her album Witness. And she had recently kind of like said some questionable things in the press, and then she did some questionable things, like just like the way she was dancing with Migos. People just thought that was questionable. And you know, her circle was like, listen, like, we feel that, you know, she's not really representing who she really is to people, and we want to give the opportunity to open the floor up to just have a better conversation. And I thought that was really actually great, because Hollywood for you guys feels like it's somewhere really far away where things happen on Shade Room and you comment and it goes away. But it's not. Like, it's people. And it's people dealing with their reality. And Hollywood is its own reality. And it has its own rules, and it's like jail. It has its own rules and its own experience, and you're dealing with people in a different way than you typically would, and sometimes things can get misconstrued. And so you want to have people around you that can help at least give a better picture. So for Katy, that's what they wanted to do, and one of the ways they wanted to do that was open the floor at this Big Brother session for conversations that don't typically get to be had in such a visible space. She has over 1 million followers, and her YouTube following is massive. So it's like, well, this is a great way to like use your platform to talk about some things that don't typically get to be talked about. Now, she actually like was a very big part of Hillary's campaign, and then when Orange won, she felt very uncomfortable going home for the holidays. Because it was like, well, what are we going to talk about? You know, we're going to sit here and talk over this turkey and act like you didn't vote for this fool. And so she decided not to go home, and she said that really inspired her to want to explore like how to have difficult conversations. So I was invited to this dinner that was called Friends and Family, a Dinner of Discourse. And basically the idea was to bring together a group of people who typically wouldn't eat together, who have very disparate points of view, and see like how they converse about topics that are typically polarizing, you know, whether it be racism, sexism, politics, etc. So at this dinner, there was myself, a journalist named Derek Blacksburg. There's Van Jones, who's known on CNN. He's a pundit. He's a brother. Then there was Ana Navarro, who is a Latina woman who is, she's also a pundit. She was on The View, and she's also a Republican. Right. I have so much trouble with people like siding with things that are not in their best interest, but whatever. Then there was one of Katie's fans, like randomly won an invite to this dinner. I felt so sorry for her because I know she totally thought she was coming to hang out with Katy Perry and her dog, and she ended up in this like deep ass intense dinner. She's like eating her salad like then there was Sally Cohn, who is a pundit who has a show on CNN. Then there was DJ Skeeter, who is a DJ and who's like really involved in the tech world. Then there was Margaret Cho, who is a really well-known comedian, and she's also Korean American. She's very known for being very progressive and just very, very openly honest and no nonsense in her work. Then there was, of course, Katy Perry, and then there was Caitlyn Jenner. So we're at this dinner, and you know, when you're in these types of situations, everybody's like feeling each other out. You know, you're feeling each other out. You know what it's like, because when you first come to school, everybody's feeling each other out. You know, you're trying to figure out like, well, what's that person about? Who are they? I always say this: there's only two kinds of people: real ones and the other ones. That's it. And so you're trying to figure out who is the real one. When I say a real one, what I mean is what you see is what you get. And not to say that you got to show everybody all of you at face value when you first meet them. That's not what that means. But what it does mean is that what you do show them of you is honest, and it's genuine, and it's authentic. It's without ulterior motive. It's without, selfishness. And it's really just a face value of like, this is me. Hello. Who are you? You take that in and you keep it moving. Now, I know people like to say like, oh, Amanda's very judgmental. They're absolutely correct. Okay? But here's the thing about judging. You have to judge sometimes, okay? The key is what your judgment is based on. If you're judging based on, skin color, that's without merit. If you're judging based on gender or sexual orientation, that's without merit. If you're judging based on character, that is with merit. If you're judging based on ethics, that is with merit. You have to judge. The same way you have to judge the distance between two distances to know if you can make it to the other side, you have to judge the distance between you and somebody else's point of view. Can y'all make it to the other side? You're going to have to do that with friendships. You're going to have to do that with relationships, romantic relationships. You're going to have to do that with jobs. You're going to have to do that with situations. You got to judge the situation. You have to hone your skill set of being able to feel out a situation. That is what judging is in realistic terms. Okay? And if we did more judging on a merit-based system, maybe we'd have justice. Right? So I just want to say that because when you come into a room like this, everybody judging everybody. Everybody, nobody is like, it's a clean slate, people reveal themselves to me. Fuck out of here. No, they not. This person judging somebody based on their tie, This person's judging somebody based on their accent, and it's something that you don't even do on purpose. But if you've been in the world long enough, you have certain trends that you've experienced. And so those end up being a part of your judgments. And that's a lot of the reason why we have so much racism that continues to this day, because people are conditioned with certain trends. So you have to judge the basis of your judgment. You have to judge the merit of your judgments, right? So for me, oh my God, that was so trippy. Yo, did you see my face? I look like Wendy when she fainted. I was like, that was trippy, dog. So I'm at a point where basically, like, I'm just judging you based on what you're saying. I want to hear what you're talking about. At the end of the day, like, you don't judge a book by its cover, because there's been many times where you do that and you play yourself, right? So we come in this space, and I've done research on all these individuals and, their points of view and where they're coming from, etc. So it's not like I'm coming in here just blank. We've all kind of done that to a certain extent. And, there's certain things that I did do in that situation just to basically alleviate any prejudgments that people may have that are not based on merit. So, like, I was going to walk in there in a dashiki. But then I was like, you know what? Let's not. Because if I do that, then those who may not be judging based on strong merits would be like already ready. Oh, here comes the angry black woman, And it's like, then I would have had to wear a head wrap with it. Like, it would have been a whole look. It would have been a whole look. And it's like, I'm in a business where I do have to be aware that people will judge you based solely on your appearance. And that's the thing that you got to know about the work you're in and the field you're in. You got to know that about the world you're in. Black people are always very apparent, very aware of the fact that we are being judged by how we look off top. I always say, like, I find myself in situations where I have to say to myself, How black am I going to have to get? How black am I going to have to get in this situation? Am I going to have to get Michelle Obama black? They go low, we go high. No? Or am I going to have to get Gucci Mane black? Where I get like just real ratchet intellectual? You know? Or am I going to have to get Nikki Giovanni black? Which is just like have a revolution in their whole face. I don't know. I don't know. But I always have a repertoire of blackness on deck for any situation, okay? And in this situation, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give them, I'm just going to come in here and just give them a clean slate so that they don't even have to come up with anything. So I wore a very blush pink, you know, a neutral, okay, with some lace, so it's very soft. You know, I have, you heard that? I have a deep voice, so a lot of times people will judge me just immediately based on the deep voice. Like, I'll be like, happy birthday, and they're like, damn. What you mean by that? Are you birthday shaming me? And it's like, okay. And so I wore my hair in a braid crown to be regal. And I purposely, you know, had a very natural look. I mean, I typically wear natural makeup in general, just because it's just my style. It's not to say that any other style is not cool, but just for me personally, like, I really like to just not necessarily be glam unless it's time to be glam. And I think a lot of people actually connect with that via my Instagram stories. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I don't give two fucks. I give like 1.5 fucks. 1.5. You do have to give a fuck. Like, some people are like, I'll give a fuck. And it's like, there's only one Cardi B. Like, you know, like, you gotta give a modicum of a fuck. You know, it's just, you live longer, you know, you'll be healthier. It's good for you. It's about balance, really. You know, it's about, you know, keeping a steady. It's not about balance. It's just about sturdiness, all right? It just keeps you steady. People always talk about balance, and, you know, you just have to have balance. It's like, balance is a really hard thing to attain, okay? I was a gymnast. Like, I know this. Like, balance is a very hard thing to attain. So at times, like, you could almost, like, drive yourself crazy trying to get balance to be not crazy. And when really I feel like what we should think more so is about being sturdy, being steady. Because if you're steady, then even when things get unbalanced, you're not going to fall. You still have enough of a foundation to bring it back to center, because things are going to get unbalanced. You know, like, for instance, if you're putting together this whole week of events and you have classes, your schoolwork may suffer a little bit because you're doing all this work to make this happen. So that's an imbalance. But if you're sturdy enough and clear enough in what you got to do, you know that you got to bring it back, you know, and do the extra credit or do the better time management to get things back on course. But I digress. So I'm in this dinner. I'm in my Valentino. I ain't gonna lie to you, I splurged. It was a splurge. And immediately the conversation goes to, you know, everyone going around saying like what they do, what they're about, what they want to, you know, what they're involved in. It gets to Caitlyn Jenner, and she says, you know, I'm Caitlyn Jenner. I'm really involved in like trans issues and working with the Republican Party to fix the things that they're not good at. Cool. I took a sip. So I said, well, what are they good at? And she was very circuitous, and she didn't answer the question. She's basically answered the question with, you better wear those heels. You better wear those heels. You better wear those heels. And she sat down that fast. And so I asked her again, but what is the Republican Party good at? And again, she was evasive, you know. She's an athlete. right? So all the way around. So I asked it again. And when I asked it again, the folks in the room were like, "Oh, Amanda, like you're pressuring her." And it's like, am I? Because I'm asking a basic question, I'm not getting a basic answer. And she's like, "Well, what would be the answer?" I said, "Well, the answer would be like, we are good at fiscal policy, we are good at education reform, we are good at creating jobs." Any of these things would be sufficient answers if they were true. But it was this weird moment where it was almost like because she was trans, they were upset that I was challenging her. And I just felt like that wasn't fair. And I feel like that's absolutely not fair to trans people, because it's almost like, no, trans people are not special because they need to be treated with kid gloves, you know, and that's not what it's about. Trans people are special because just like everybody else, they're individuals who have chosen a path for themselves and they're living their truth. But that should not mean that means that they don't get spoken to and challenged for their decisions and their ethics the same way that other people do. Like that, to me, would be disrespectful to trans people, okay? So I'm not challenging her being trans, I'm challenging her being an idiot. And supporting a party that doesn't support her. That's what I'm challenging. So we continue the conversation, it goes in other directions, and of course, because me being the nigga I am, they are, you know, feeling like I'm just, you know, being very pushy. Because that's what we came to do. Right? We came to push buttons. We came to have a conversation. We came to have a dinner with discourse. Discourse is not like a dinner with Kiki. Discourse is a dialogue from opposing sides. So the conversation then goes to this thought process that everybody has a voice, you know, and that we are in an America where everybody has a voice. Everybody's voice is valuable. Everybody deserves to be heard. In theory, everybody has a right to be heard. Not everybody deserves to be heard. You know that because you're on the internet. Okay? What I mean by that is there's something to be said for opinions, but there's also something to be said for educated opinions. For opinions based on fact. For opinions based on information, right? And we have entered an age now where basically, like, as long as someone says, "That's my opinion," that gives it credibility. And with anything, credibility is on a scale. Okay, so if we go on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like, well, yeah, it's like this SATs. You signed your name, so you get 2 off the top. So yes, you get 2 points for just having an opinion. That's cool. But there's a gradient, and you need to be able to support your opinion. You know, like what you guys do with papers. Your opinion is your thesis. And then you have to support your thesis. And then what do you have to do with the support that you make of your thesis? You have to cite it with a works cited. So you can't just be pulling shit out the air. You got to be like, I support my thesis with this, and this came from this. This is valid right here. In school, we learn that in order to have an opinion, you have to be able to support that opinion with comparative analysis and critical thinking. Unfortunately, this is not taught in the early stages of school. A lot of times we only start learning this once we get to college. Those of us who learn it before that, we either stumble upon it, we're very lucky to have an educator who considers it to be a paramount part of educating, or we have a parent or some type of person in our lives who has been instilling that in us. A lot of people don't get that though. And so you find yourself having arguments with people that simply don't even have the same tools as you in explaining the point. And it's not that their opinion isn't valid in terms of its expression, and it's not to say that their opinion, you know, that they should be silenced, but it does mean that their opinion may not have as strong of a footing in information as somebody else's. And I think that that's very important because the news is no longer the news anymore. The news is opinions. So if you're just listening to anybody's opinion, but you're not really checking the question and asking the questions of, well, how you got this opinion? Then you're just taking in whatever is put to you. And not everything that's put to you is valuable. It's the same way that you wouldn't just drink a cup of, no one's just going to give you a cup of something, you're going to drink it. You're going to ask, what's the contents of this glass? You should, at least. We in college, some of y'all need to be asking what's the contents of this glass. Okay? What is the contents of this? And a lot of people do that with their food, or they do that with their drinks, or they do that with their joints. But they're not doing that with their information. And it's all things that you are ingesting. It's all things that you're taking in and that you're eventually going to put out in some shape, way, or form. And, you know, you want that to come out valuable or you want to come out as shit? It's the question. So when I'm in this situation, I'm listening to what people are saying, and they're saying that everyone has a valuable opinion in America. Everyone has a valuable voice. Well, value is on a spectrum as well, right? So, like, we all have shoes on in here. But some shoes are from Payless. And some shoes are Gucci.
Yours?
No, these are Zara. And value is measured for different people in different ways. So for some people, they're like, it doesn't matter. Like, the value is based on, you know, for some people, it's like, I just need shoes. I don't care what they look like. I don't care how much they cost. I just need shoes. For some people, value is based on cost. You know, and it's like, well, these are more valuable because they cost more. And so that's something that you have to look at in terms of people's opinions. It's subjective. Everyone has different value systems. So for them, they were saying that everybody's voice is valuable because they're American. For me, I'm like, fuck that. If you walked me to a guillotine, your voice isn't as valuable as someone else's who cared about my safety. And that's how I feel about voters in America. Anybody who walked me to a guillotine where orange now has control over this country, I do not value their voice in the same way as somebody who gave value to my voice when I said, I feel unsafe with this person in charge. It's like a golf clap. And people stood up over this process of voting and said, we don't like this. They're taking lands from people. We don't like this. He's talking about snatching pussies. We don't like this. He's telling people to hurt and harm individuals that are wearing Black Lives Matter shirts at his rallies. We don't like this. This doesn't make us feel safe. This doesn't make us feel valued as Americans. We weren't quiet about it. Nobody was humble about it. Nobody was like, you know, let's just see what happens. There was a lot of vocal response. It wasn't Hillary, but the people were very vocal in saying, we're not liking this. And there were many people who were like, oh well. You don't like it? Oh well. And to me, those people, their voices to me just weren't as valuable. And when I said that at the table, people were like, and I was just like, listen, like, y'all could be kumbaya, and I think that there's value in that. You know, you need a balance of different prongs of revolution, but I think I speak for many people who would say, like, nah, I'm not interested in hearing what they have to say. I'm not interested in hearing why you voted for Trump. I'm not. I swear to you, I'm not. And I know that the thought process is, well, maybe if we know why they voted for Trump, then we can solve it. And it's like, I'm tired of solving or trying to solve the problems of idiots. I'm just not here for that. We have enough issues because of those people that we have to work on, let alone also working on those people. And so the thought process, I think, for some people is like, well, maybe if we can get those people to stop making those decisions, then we won't have the trickle down of this. And what we don't understand, I think, for a lot of people is that a lot of the decisions that we're all dealing with are not made by, like, regular voters. They're made by a small group of people up in a castle with a lot of money who are making decisions that affect their well-being. And we just get the scraps of however that pans out. And that leaves us to figure out how we're going to move and how we're going to operate. So when I'm at this dinner and they're talking about this, you know, they were like, well, at the end of the day, I mean, we're all still Americans. And we're all Americans, and Trump will pass. And I was like, skirt. Skirt, skirt. So what you mean Trump will pass? And they're like, well, it's just a moment in time. It can take one moment to change your whole life, good or bad. And I said, well, you know, for what it's worth, I'm sure there were people that thought Hitler would pass. I always use Hitler because there have been many examples of absolutely incredibly shady, terrible white people, but he in particular is one that everyone can agree is trash. Okay? So I said that, and then folks were upset because they didn't like me comparing Orange to Hitler. But here's what the reason I was making that comparison was because the point is that for the most part, these sinister individuals, like, they don't come out swinging. You know, like, it's a process. It's a slow burn. And when we see certain things going on right now, they are indicative of things that we've seen before. But I think that there's like a disassociation that we have with the past. I didn't know there was a baby here. I'm cursing. She's fine? Okay. She shrugged like, it's cool. It's almost like because we've seen things like in black and white, literally like black and white newsreel footage, we think it's a movie. It's true. It's like we think it didn't really happen. But it's almost like we think those weren't real people. Those were real people. Like, it's not like it was staged. So when you think about that, you're like, oh, so like there were people that were doing what we were doing. That were having conversations like, yo, this dude is wildin'. What can we do? And then there was more people who were like, nah, chill. What are you saying? Because no one ever wants to believe the worst. Because that's hard to live through. You know, and everyone has to make it their own way. Like, everyone's in their own universe, their own world, their own movie. And on top of that, you got to deal with like, oh man, like, you mean shit as well? So it's a very sobering realization to know that, like, something wicked this way comes. It is. I know that. And even myself, like, I have a gift of sight. I can see things before they happen. It's an intuitive thing. It's frustrating because a lot of people don't have that. So when you're trying to tell people, it's like the white girl in the horror movie. Don't go over there. Don't go over there. You mean over there? Don't go over there. I think I hear something. Don't go over there. I think it's a chainsaw. Don't go over there. Ah! Bitch, I told you not to go over there. Why you do that? And it's like you just want people to hear you so that they can make better decisions, so we can all not go over there. And so when I was at this dinner and I said that and they got upset, I said, well, listen, you know, Hitler didn't come out swinging gas chambers. It was a process. And that process was rooted in making one group of people feel like they had a right to be better than another group of people. Isn't that what's happening right now? I mean, I know that I can see, but I feel like that's a basic one, you know? And sometimes I'm just like, what are people really seeing? Like, I was in Connecticut, and my Uber driver was like, you know, I think we can all agree. First off, when a white man says, I think we can all agree. Odds are, no, we don't. So I think we can all agree that Trump looks great for his age. I was like, I may need him to pull over because clearly this man is blind. How can you say that? Like, this man looks like he's been revived one too many times. I mean, you know, Obama left office with gray hairs. Trump is going to leave office in a jar. How can you say that he looks good for his age? Have you seen black people? Pharrell Williams is 127 years old. Donald Trump looks like a piece of pizza with the cheese off of it. I'm supposed to care about this man's opinion? This man right here? This is a blind man driving an Uber. He doesn't make good decisions. So we sat, you know, this conversation's going on, then they turn to Caitlin. They say, Caitlin, what do you think? And she said, well, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. Why don't you want to talk? Well, because, you know, it's gotten hostile. The conversation has gotten hostile. Because I love this country, because I love this, I'm paraphrasing, because I love this country, and I just think that it is disrespectful to me as a citizen. It's disrespectful to me as a citizen to make that type of comparison. To me as an American. To make that type of comparison. Now, y'all should know, like, I am a very turned up person. Okay? So, like, when I'm in these settings, it is taking a lot of effort to just stay right here. Because I really want to be like, what the? And I can't. And so what happens is I start shivering. I start shivering when I'm in those situations. I feel like, I don't know if anyone watches Dragon Ball Z, but it's like, I'm trying not to go Super Saiyan on these motherfuckers. You know, it's like, it's Vegeta, it's Goku, it's a lot. So, it's definitely like, you know, trying not to go in the Avatar state. So, I'm listening to this, and she's going on and on and on, and I'm quiet because they've already, like, you know, tried to shut me down a few times, right? Like, oh, Amanda, you're just a little, like, harsh, Amanda. You know, like, because I'm always that person at the table. It's always like, Amanda. Like, we were just having fun, and you had to bring up racism. Like, you know, and so we were just making nooses out of Twizzlers, and you had to bring up racism. So, just picture that. Picture, like, being at a birthday party, and they're, like, making Twizzler nooses, and you're just like, I gotta go. I was at a birthday party when I was 10 years old. I was 11 years old. It was a birthday party for Eric and Amy. They were twins. They were rich as shit. They had a DJ for their birthday party. They had a dance floor by the pool. Okay? I went to the birthday party. We in the backyard. They're dancing. We're dancing. Did anyone watch The Bachelorette? Did you watch it this season with the black woman? Remember the wrestler who was on there? Okay, so he was at the birthday party too. So he's there. We the only black folks there. All right? So they start playing the song Slam by Onyx. Now the song Slam goes, Slam! Da 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 da. Let the boys be boys. Those are the lyrics. Da 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 da. Okay? However, on this festive night in Orlando, Florida, it was remixed. And we were by the pool, jumping around, and I heard, Slam! White power! White power! Let the boys be white! And I was like, I gotta go. And I went and called my mom, and I was like, yeah, it's not working out. I need you to come pick me up immediately before things take a turn for the worse. So I've often, I found myself in situations like this where, like, the conversation is stacked against me, per se, and I think for a lot of people, when they find themselves in that situation, the instinct is to just shut it down. Bless you. The instinct is to not ruffle any more feathers. I don't think it's about weakness as much as a lot of times it's just about the fact that, like, you don't want to be the negative Nancy. Like, everybody's eating their steak. Like, you ain't trying to really ruin the succulentness, Sometimes it's like you're just tired. You're tired of everyone shitting on you. So you're like, I'm not going to give them another reason. And then sometimes it's because you want everyone to like you. You genuinely just want them to like you. And when I was talking about judging earlier, you got to be able to judge if you give a damn about if these people like you. Does it matter? Sometimes it does. Because sometimes there's a bigger play that needs to happen. Right? So it's a chess game. Like, that whole analogy about life being a chess game is not full of shit. Because in chess, you're judging how we're going to move on the board to make the next moves. Right? That's why people say 10 steps ahead. One of my favorite lyrics from 8-Ball and MJG. I'm a 10 steps ahead of your ass, type of nigga. Shit that I already know you trying to figure. So, when I was in that situation, I'm looking at this room and it's like, do I care if these people like me? And I did the math. No. A lot of times for me, the math is like, will my mom be cool with this? But sometimes, no. And I got to be cool with that too. Because at the end of the day, who really has to be cool with it? That's because you live with you. So you could, try and please everybody in the world. But at night, it's you. By yourself. It's you. You're the one sitting in the shower. Listening to sad white girl music, trying to get through, okay? Listening to Sarah McLachlan, sing about angels, smearing your lipstick, okay? You're the one crying in the mirror. You know you do it. You're the one Tyreseing. AKA lying to yourself. Okay? So you gotta feel good about the conversation, about the situation. So in that situation, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna like be a shrinking violet, even though like they're definitely like making me feel like I'm being the disruptor in this situation. But I did come to disrupt. I came to disrupt politeness that is in the way of purpose. That's what I came to the world to do. That's like my whole existence, is to disrupt politeness in the way of purpose. So I've had to get okay with people saying I'm rude, people saying I'm stank, people saying I'm unfiltered, people saying I'm an asshole, people saying I'm a bitch. Because they're, in some situations to them, that's very valid. If you a white girl trying to jump me in the line, and I'm like, Mom, no. To her, I am a bitch. But I know for me, I'm just telling you the truth, that that's not going to happen. Because when you fly first class, like, they never think that you're supposed to be in first class. Like, and it's not even just white people, just people in general. The way I look, I'm not supposed to be in first class. Because I'm in an Adidas suit that has way too much colors. And it's like, why, like, what are you doing? And I always have to be like, just sounds. So when Kaylin said all that, they came back to me and they said, Amanda, what do you think? I said, well, I think it's important that you talk because, I don't think it's okay that you were trying to shut down conversing. And they were like, no, but she was talking. She was talking. I said, no. You had to coax her to talk. You had to coerce her to speak because she had decided that she wasn't going to speak because this conversation was no longer valuable to her. Well, remember when I talked about value? Everyone at that table had a value that was worth merit, okay? I have a master's from Columbia University in African American Studies. I'm still paying for the shit. Give me my value, okay? I'm also living in the world as a black woman on a regular basis, and I'm doing what I need to do through action and words to show that I am about and for the people. Give me my value, okay? And while we're talking about that, when I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram and I'm saying things that are critical of our community, like, give me my fucking value. I'm not out here bullshitting. I'm not out here laying waste to all the work that has been done before us. I'm not somebody who is incongruous with my points of view and my ethics. So there's no reason to come at me sideways like I would be saying anything ever without any type of intent of positivity. And it's always annoying to me when people come at me like I'm some agent of deleteriousness. Ooh, I sound like Cornel West. You heard them words? Like I'm some agent of deceit, and it's like, know your team. Know who's riding for you. That's part of judging. Know who's on your side. Don't waste your energy fighting people who are on your side. There's a way that you converse and dialogue with people that are on your side that you may have a difference in agreement with. But what you don't do is try to kill their spirit. What you don't do is try to demean the value of their purpose when you know it's of positivity. Because those are the people that you need. I'm somebody that we need. I know so many people that we need. And part of what you need to do is continue to make them feel appreciated, to continue talking so that they can continue working. You have people in your school that you need. And you need to make them feel valued. And you need to make them feel acknowledged and appreciated. Because those are the people that continue the work. You always got to look at who's working and help them continue the work. If you're the person who's working, keep people around you who help you continue the work. That's the one thing I always tell everybody when they ask me about any type of advice about, well, I'm going into show business, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Number one rule, keep people around you who believe in you more than you believe in you. Because there's going to be plenty of times when you're like, I can't. What am I here for? You know that emoji? And you're gonna need at least one person to be like, chill. Get your shit together. Yes. You always need to get your shit together teammate. You gotta figure out, I want you when you leave here tonight, think about like, who's on my get my shit together squad? Maybe we need to set up a brunch. Like it's real. Like you need to create that circle around you. Some people call it a prayer circle. Some people call it a sister circle. Some people call it they bros. But you need to have those people around you. And not enough of us have get your shit together circles. We have you're great circles. And you need people that tell you you're great when you're great. But you also need people who tell you that's some fuck shit. Sorry. We need more brothers to tell other brothers that's some fuck shit. We really do. We really do. And I know brothers be like, you dogging brothers. I love brothers. I am the NAACP in one person, okay? I have built up and supported so many brothers. I deserve all the awards, okay? However, I also believe in constructive criticism. So when we were at that dinner, I was providing constructive criticism to a situation that we are all in, which is this country under the presidency of this ridiculous individual that people have put in place. And so I said to her, I said, I understand what you're saying. I said, but first off, let me tell you, I'm not hostile. I'm passionate. And there's a difference. And the problem is that for so long, especially black people specifically, we have been demeaned as hostile for simply being passionate about what we know. And what that seeks to do is devalue your point of view. Because we look at hostile as a bad thing. Sometimes hostile is a good thing. Sometimes you got to be hostile because they're trying you. Okay? Sometimes you have to be. But in this situation, I wasn't being hostile. I was being honest and I was being factual. And sometimes that alone is considered violent. Yes. A black woman who knows what she's talking about and is fearless about talking about it is violent. That's a weapon. That's considered a weapon. You know they didn't want us to read, right? Remember that? I really asked that because a lot of people forget or never even really know. Remember I talked about the black and white? If people can't even think that the civil rights movement is connected to us, you think people think slavery is connected? People, our community forget, like we've forgotten. Like I was dating somebody who was like, you know, I just feel like you be coming at white folks so hard. Well, I can't sleep with you now. I mean, what are we gonna do now? But he was genuinely like fearful. You know, he was fearful. And I was like, who are you protecting? He's like, well, I'm protecting you. Don't try and Jedi mind trick me, fool. He's like, you know, I just feel like you could get misconstrued. And I was like, I mean, good thing I'm hella articulate. But that fear, I couldn't have that next to me. You can't have that next to you, you know? And I always say, like, a revolutionary woman's love will not be won passively. So that was that. But that fear really came from a place of not understanding why I have to go hard at white people. And why white people have to go hard at white people. You know, like when Lady Gaga wrote that tweet where she said, black people. Let's be real. She really said, black people! What can us non-racist white people do to challenge racism in America? I'm not doubting that she had the best of intentions, okay? But don't ever let someone tell you there's no such thing as a stupid question. That's a lie. There are absolutely stupid questions. And maybe there weren't at once upon a time, but now we have Google. And the world changes, okay? They thought the world was flat. B.O.B. still thinks the world is flat. I may have even given him a little leeway on that, just because, like, I don't know the facts. But now he's talking about the slavery didn't happen and the slave ships never happened. And I'm just like, I will throw this water at your face. Sorry. So I said that to her. And I don't even want to get back to that. First, I want to say this about, it is not black people's job to educate white people on how to dismantle a system that they built. It's not. Now, listen, I'm not saying that we as a people don't all have to work together in order to dismantle that in our own ways. I will say this, though. That's not our role in the dismantling. You know what our role in the dismantling of racism is? To stay black and die. That is our role. What I mean by that is, our role is to continue doing what we've been doing, which is overcoming, which is empowering each other, which is educating ourselves, and we need to be doing that in a much more exponential way. And part of the problem is we have such a division amongst what the black community is. And a lot of it is created by who? Thank you. So that's the frustrating part. Like, I get told I'm bougie because I know my worth. I get told I'm classist for telling black folks you can be anything. Don't settle for less. If you do, you're losing. Don't just spend your money on frivolous things like Jordans and Nike suits if you don't have certain things in place that create more access for you. Because when you think that that is winning by owning those things, it is not. And when people tell me, well, who are you to tell people how to spend their money? My answer is someone who knows how to spend her money. Okay. And you know that if a white stockbroker told them the same shit, they'd be like, ooh, he put me on game.